I watched a few movies while you were away this weekend. All of them I thought were really good.
Okay.
Thief, Rashomon, and Wild Strawberries. All three. Oh, and Spider-Man 1 in 2002. And it got me thinking, considering kind of the good movies with like some of my favorite endings for stuff, because I was watching the end of Rashomon and about how, it's plot summary for the audience that hasn't seen it, about a husband and a wife basically being taken by a bandit on the side of the road on the highway sometime in like medieval Japan, and the husband is killed. And so there are three witnesses, including the bandit who's still alive and the wife, and they all are before this magistrate in Japan, and they're trying to figure out, based off of their testimony, they all give conflicting testimony as to what happened. They all kind of conform to the general details of that there was a fight and then the guy died, but there's always a question about why the guy died. What was, what happened? Bring up that. And the movie ended without any real resolution. You don't know whose testimony was true or whose testimony was bad. And I kind of like those type of movies where the end is not really resolved.
Yeah.
So it just got me thinking in terms of, what movies and what movie endings I really liked as compared to other ones. And
Yeah.
because I like something like that. I've always liked the ending of 2001: Space Odyssey, where again you're not told anything. You're not told this is how it resolves and
It's all
this is how it is.
interpretive.
Again, it's all interpretive
Yeah.
to that, and I kind of like that thing. But that's what got me thinking this weekend while you were.
So for Rashomon, when was that made? In the 50s, right?
Yeah.
So that was told from was it told from different perspectives, or just like people giving their accounts of what they thought happened?
So the way it would do is that you would have the bandit gave his presentation, his testimony as to what happened, and like as he began the testimony of what happened, it would cut to basically a reenactment of what happened with like the bandit and the husband, and
From
then-
his perspective.
from his perspective
Okay.
of what happened, and then another person would come up and offer their testimony, and then you would see that reenactment there. So the audience got to see
Okay.
each person's different interpretation of the man being killed in the woods.
And it never concluded like who's right, who's wrong.
Yep.
Yeah, that's interesting. I kind of like that too. That's like the movie The Duel with Matt Damon and Ben Affleck. That came out maybe like 3 or 4 years ago. It was like, I don't know, like medieval England. I don't know the time frame for it, but that was a similar thing. It's like Matt Damon's wife was sexually assaulted, raped by Adam Driver's character, and then there's like the whole like court hearing for it and determining if that's true. So it gave like the first third of the movie was like Matt Damon's perspective from the whole thing. So you saw it through his eyes, and then Adam Driver was his eyes, and it made it seem like more like she wanted this and she was like interested in him. And then you're like, okay, maybe that's what it actually is. And then you see the perspective of her, and then it's like very like violent, but it ends in like a duel, which is obviously the name of the movie. But you never actually understand like who's telling the truth. And then it ends with Adam Driver getting killed and Matt Damon, wins, and then they live happily ever after. But it kind of has a similar perspective of it's not like right or wrong. It's just giving the audience like options essentially into what happened. And then at the end, fate intervened, and I don't know. That is interesting. I do I feel like there's a lot of movies that can be good that have bad endings, less or so. But what was the movie you just brought up that you'd like the ending? Did you just say something?
Oh, 2001: Space Odyssey?
Yeah, 2001, yeah. Exactly. I like the interpretive endings that it's not like wrapped in a bow. It's like, here's a perfect ending, makes the audience happy, which can be good, but I like the ones that kind of make you think a little bit. Kind of similar to the drama, too. It's like that we always talked about, where it's this, you don't necessarily, that ending is a little interpretive, and it's kind of up to the audience to determine, do I like these people or not? Like, am I believing Robert Pattinson's character? Am I believing Zendaya? Am I believing her friends? All that stuff. So I think that's good. But yeah, no, I think endings for films can be a make or break. And I feel like for TV shows too, they just don't know how to end.
Yeah, how to stick the landing.
Yeah, like we've seen it so many
Yeah.
times with, Game of Thrones and What's another one that's like a big just
Seinfeld, I know everyone criticized the ending for that one. I know that when the ending of The Sopranos happened, I'm not going to spoil the ending because one of my friends was watching this and he's making his way through The Sopranos.
fair.
But yeah, the ending of The Sopranos was a lot of people were like, "What the hell?"
Oh yeah, I know. Yes,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
There was a very much,
But it's kind of like
but it also was more interpretive.
Right.
What happened there.
Yep,
But,
yep.
yeah, I know that was a big one there. But then you have, I think, other shows in which you can stick the landing. I think Succession did that recently. But that I think it's very far and few between because you have these seasons that now last 8, 9, 10.
Yeah, like Stranger
seasons.
Things is another one that just like the
Yeah.
ending was just so stupid. Everyone hated it, and it's a show that's dragged on for. I think the first season was 2016, and then ended last year. It's like a 10-year show, and they mess it all up essentially, or they just like taint the entire brand, and it's. I don't know. Kind of Game of Thrones. It's like the first 6 or 7 seasons, however many there are like almost perfect. And the last season feels so rushed. There's no conclusion with the actual books.
Well, it was rushed.
It will. I mean,
They were trying to get Star Wars.
and then subsequently, you did such a bad job that you lose the contracts for Star Wars. It's like, great job, guys.
Yeah.
Getting like a little greedy or like, a little too ego driven for these writers at least or showmakers. But
yeah, I feel TV shows more often than not, especially those that last a lot, like many seasons, kind of they lose track of because you got to keep trying to come up with something new and something, so it always becomes very difficult and unwieldy after a very long time.
yeah,
But with movies, you'd kind of expect a little bit more, kind of rounding out. And even I was thinking too, like other endings that I really liked and enjoyed was the ending for There Will Be Blood. When he's got everything he wants,
yeah,
right? And it ends in one of two ways, right? His rage just can't. But he's all alone in his mansion, and his deaf son tells him that he's also going to start his own company. And for that point, he says, well, his adopted son, and he says, yeah, he disowns him. He says, you're no longer a son, you're a competitor. And then it ends famously with him bashing Paul Dano's head in with a bowling pin.
yeah, bowling pin. Yeah. Crazy.
I thought that was a very good summation of what this person's life really amounted to at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
what about you? Any movie endings in which really kind of jump out to you that are like?
I think my favorite ending for a movie has to be, well, maybe not of all time, but La La Land. I think that's one of the best, saddest, but also like purest endings. I'm sure most people have seen La La Land, but it's just like, I think the whole core of that film that you don't understand till that last sequence is right person, wrong time. That's like what the whole movie's about, because they just seem like they're perfect for each other, but they're like at the wrong points in their lives. Like they're both very driven for what they're doing, but to get to where they are, they can't be together.
Yeah.
And it's, showing like the flashback of what their life could have been and like having kids and all that. And it like kills you. You're just in the theater, I'm just like, you're getting chills, getting like teary eyed. It's insane. And, that went on to be, one of the biggest Oscar winners of all time and should have won Best Picture. But of course, this is wrong. Moonlight won. You guys won. It's like, oh my God, like, give me a break. But, no, that one for sure is, I think, like a perfect, it just wraps it up perfectly. Same with, same director, Damien Chazelle. Whiplash. I thought they did a great job with that. Because that's just like such a violent movie in the sense of it's just so intense. Like I'm a drummer myself, and when I saw that, I was like peak like interested in drumming, and I didn't drum for like 4 to 5 months after that because I was so demotivated because it was so intense. I'm like, geez, I want to go to college and be a drummer, but now I don't want to do that at all. If J.K. Simmons is gonna be my teacher, but that ending is so good because it comes full circle for the whole film, and like Miles Teller's character's like his drive. He kind of does that. He stops playing drums for like a year, and then he's just still obviously thinking about it and gets back into it. And J.K. Simmons takes revenge on him because he knows that he's the one who ratted on him. But then Miles Teller takes control of that concert, and then it's just like it's amazing, and that's the end. It's like that concert, and they're finally like in sync, and it's good too because J.K. Simmons his whole goal for that movie was, I I forget the something Casey was the guy that in that movie like killed himself, who was his, like his star pupil, and he wanted the next next biggest thing. He wanted to be like that mentor to give like a great musician, and then it's like you would think, oh, he hates Miles Teller, he's trying to ruin his career, but like at that last moment, like they finally got it. Miles Teller becomes super successful, and he gets to be like that successful mentor.
Yeah.
And it's just, even though he's like a bad guy the whole film, you're like, let's go. Like these guys finally figured it out. But I don't know, you have other movies that you think are strong endings, or even weak endings maybe that for a strong movie.
Yeah. Well, weak ending, I think for a strong movie, I know we'll probably clip this and it'll get, but it has to be Titanic, I think. I think it was a good movie throughout, but at the end, I just don't understand why she just takes the heart of the sea and just chucks it in the water. And, yeah. I don't. That to me was a little bit of like a what?
It's just like not logical. Like you can understand, I guess, in terms of like a fantastical type. It's just, it's like her history is rushing back to her, and she's like, very reminiscent of everything, and Jack was like the most important person to her. But it's like you're 90 years old. You have a husband, obviously you're used to, have children, have grandchildren, are on this whole expedition to find this heart of the ocean, heart of the sea. Yeah. And like these guys, that's their whole mission, and you have it the whole time, and you just throw it out because of like a daydream, essentially.
Yeah. Just because you got very emotional recounting this story of what was, for all intents and purposes, really a cruise. That ended tragically, but it was a cruise.
It was of course. Yeah.
It was
like the first like main major cruise.
I think it would be very funny if in 100 years from now someone decided to remake Titanic, but with a Carnival cruise, and that was the,
What would they find? What would be the token that
an iPhone?
Yeah, literally. Just carrying this old iPhone.
Yeah. But I think it's I think that was one of the movies where very good movie. Mm-hmm. I'm not knocking it, but I think the ending was a little kind of like that was
just
it?
Corny.
Just like that was it.
Yeah, it's like it's such a big film. The most profitable. It was the most profitable film at the time.
Yeah.
And then it's just that ending's always so weak. Whenever I see it, I'm like,
it was kind of like
anything else,
But again, not knocking it, but that was just my opinion of that one. What about you? Any for you? Strong film week ending?
Maybe. I kind of want to say Shutter Island. Like it's a fine ending, I guess. It's like, I guess the whole ending's a twist where he's the one that's crazy, but it just feels a little too simple in a sense. Like you get that twist where he's the, I forget his name in it, Leo's character, but it's just it's an easy way out there, because they couldn't go anywhere else with that plot. They kind of like, they surveilled the whole island, all the characters. I mean, it wasn't a bad film. On rewatch, I actually didn't like. I think the music ruined that movie. It was so just like cheesy music, and like it was like scary, like a 1930s like horror film in a sense of just like the big violins, and it just didn't really make sense for a Scorsese film, especially for like a dark movie, and adding that cheesy twist. But I would say that's like a B- in my opinion. It's not the worst, but
I also feel like that movie came out very close to, at least in my conception, with Inception. I don't know why in my head that
I think you're right.
Those two come out like at the same time, and so I feel like one just got overshadowed by the other in terms of
a couple years,
in terms of like the layered and depth that it has for those two.
That's fair. And then I think for a great ending would be Inception. Like that's just like
I think that was
perfect. They finally get what they need, all the characters, but it also is an interpretive ending. With spinning the totem, and it wobbles like at the last possible frame. And I think Christopher Nolan has said that it was reality, but it's.
Well, I think he said something in terms of if Michael Caine was in, like, if he was there, then it was real, and if he wasn't, Michael Caine's not there, he wasn't there.
But he was there.
I mean, he was real.
So it was real.
He was
Okay,
real, yeah,
so I thought you were
yeah.
saying it wasn't there.
No.
But that's a movie where it's a very long film, and it has every option to be a cheesy ending, but I think they do it so well.
Do a movie that was really good. Well, in my opinion, I thought was really good, and that it could have become a very cheesy ending, but the way that the whole movie is set up is just such an emotional gut punch that it's beautiful. Life is beautiful.
True. Yeah, dude.
That's the build up for that one, and then the release at the end,
Because it's told from such an innocent perspective of the son, you know, and it's similar to Jojo Rabbit, where that's the viewpoint from the kid, and everything seems happy and almost comical in a sense, but it's such a dark overtone.
Oh yeah, pervading everything.
Very true.
But I thought that one was a very emotional one toward the end. I was like, and that I think kind of makes movies in a lot of ways. I think the last act kind of
100%.
puts that hit there too.
Yeah, the last
really
10%.
can drive it home, like with The Godfather too. Right, drives home that point towards the end.
It's perfect
with
because
the
it's
baptism
just
scene.
tying up loose ends in that movie, because that's kind of what the whole point is about, is just to like preserve their strength, and then it's one of the best sequences of just like the prayers and like, you know, do you reject the devil, and you know, Mo Green getting shot in the head, and it's just like, it's perfect. I can't remember the end of the second one, but I remember that also having a strong ending.
Yeah.
But I think that can make or break films, and I think for a film recently like Disclosure Day, I didn't like the movie in general, but that ending was the worst. It was absolutely the most childish, simple ending, you know, totally like left field twist, but not in a good way. And it just ruined the whole thing. It made the whole movie irrelevant.
Yeah.
You know, that last literal 2 minutes made the entire 2.5 hour film irrelevant.
It was just, it was very much a cheap ending to something that was supposed to be
a major hit, you know, like could have been a major blockbuster smash, you know, could have been a great, you know, addition to Spielberg's filmography. And there was so much marketing, so much anticipation, and, you know, John Williams is back in it, and, you know, the soundtrack, and then you have that. It's crazy. Like, how?
I don't know. Well, John Williams, I think mentioned he's very good, but I feel like his music did not match the tone of the movie at all.
Not at all.
But yeah, I think that's where another one where you could have like a mediocre film for a lot of the ways, and then towards the end have a really good ending that really kind of brings that up to where you're like, well, this is
like borderline masterpiece.
Yes.
Like if it's good enough.
I think it's usually the end that kind of drives home that point where it's like, yeah.
Because that's like going back to Game of Thrones, everyone thought that was like the best show, and people still do say that, but that ending tainted it so hard. It's like you can't fully say that this show collectively is the best show because of that.
It was the biggest show of the 2010s, and then when the ending came out and it blew itself up, but then almost immediately afterwards, right, you had COVID and everyone was locked in their homes all the time.
Yeah, it's like a shell shock.
And no one rewatched Game of Thrones.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm sure people did. I'm sure people did, but
you didn't have like, it wasn't this big like, oh, let's rewatch. Game of Thrones. It was kind of like some
then
people
it's like,
did, but it wasn't really.
You're watching it and it stays with you, but then you know what's coming. You know that ending, and it's just not going to be strong. And
it's like movies too that I know that they were very big, right? They made a lot of money at the box office, and they had no cultural relevance whatsoever. They there was no memes, there was nothing. And one of the big one that comes to mind is Avatar. I feel like we're picking on James Cameron. I feel like I'm picking on James Cameron a lot, but it's Avatar.
Fair.
Because, you know, this big, ignoring the second and third film, right, but just focusing on the first Avatar movie that came out, right, made $1 billion, over $2 billion,
yeah,
and the only cultural relevance it has is when people bring it up in a conversation like this about the fact that it had no cultural relevance outside of the fact that it was, right, people may still argue and talk about whether Jack could have gotten on the
door frame
for that. People still quote The Godfather. People make memes about all these, you know, TV shows and movies, and, you know, do stuff with Inception, right, has become kind of part of the colloquial phrase and that people use, but no one,
just tall blue people.
That's it.
Like that's the only
who
reference
use their
you can make.
ponytails to have sex. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's
it.
really nothing deeper than that.
There's no quotes that people say. There's no memes that came out of it. There's really nothing that came out of Avatar, which is odd to me.
Other than the technology, I guess it was like, you know, revolutionary CGI, which is weird how that can convince enough people to come see that movie. You know, there wasn't any real big pull. Like, you know, with Sam Worthington, he wasn't a huge actor. You had Sigourney Weaver, she's like an institutional actor, but like there wasn't anything that really drew me. I thought it was a good movie, but like there wasn't anything that really made me want to see it. But I guess maybe in that time it was like the perfect storm, and because it was a hit when that came out. Everyone was talking huge about it, but after the fact, it's completely irrelevant. And same with the new ones that come out. They, you know, the second one came out, same thing. So much like marketing for it. It's like, the sequel, and you see it, and then that's it. No one talks about it. Third one, same exact thing. It's going to be fourth and fifth, the same exact thing, same cycle.
So, but it's interesting to me that you could have a movie that big and not really have any real cultural staying power, because you have like all the top movies that we've ever had. They have cultural staying power, right?
Almost
you had
always, yeah.
Titanic, you had Infinity War, Endgame, right? They still have cultural relevance. Dark Knight, whether you like them or not, as films or as movies, right? They have staying power culturally, right? Memes come out of it. People still quote them. There's, you know, people still talk about them. You know, but with Avatar,
nothing.
Always kind of flies under the radar with all that stuff. And I'm not saying it's deserved or it's not deserved, but I find it very interesting.
Maybe it's just the super commercial films, because like the only other profitable, like, you know, pure films in terms of how much money they made were the Avengers movies, you know, which were massive films, but no one's going to be really talking about in 10 years of pretty much anything in any of those films, you know, other than like Iron Man died. That's the, you know, like the actual conclusion of the entire franchise, essentially up to that point, which is a big moment. But yeah, it doesn't stay with you. Like, whereas like The Dark Knight, everyone still talks about Heath Ledger. Like everybody still says that's like pinnacle acting. Like everyone should try to get to that moment, because no one's replicated it since.
No. But I still think people quote, I think, a lot more, at least with the Avengers, right? People, I think, still quote, and you still see it around. People quote Thanos for stuff. I see on the internet a lot.
I'm inevitable.
Yeah.
That's really all I can think of, honestly.
What's the other one I'm trying to think off the top of my head right now? Blanking right now. But you see people with, like, their own snaps and shit, and, like, you know, full skies and, you know, full bellies and clear skies. And it's, you know, it's the sacrifice is worth the price and all this other bullshit he says.
Maybe. I guess I'll give a little bit to that. But,
you know, when he's in his morose phase and he's talking about how it's worth killing half the world for.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think it still has a little bit much. I think it has just enough cultural staying power that Avatar, I'm like, what happened there? You know,
I guess you can kind of see though. It's like Avatar was just,
but yeah, you're comparing. Well, you're comparing
movie.
Also Dark Knight to Avengers. That's
right. But even with Avatar versus Avengers, it's like Avatar was just one movie, and it was massively successful, very popular. But in order for Avengers to get that same level of interest, they needed to make 25 movies to get up to it. So it's almost not a fair fight.
And also, Endgame took over Infinity War, I know, also because there was a lot of people went to go see the movie simply to try to make it.
To boost it?
To boost it, yeah. So,
which is so stupid.
You know, I think. And
I'm not
saying there wasn't any hype around it, because I know that there was, but I think that was a big.
I've also heard claims too of specifically for Marvel films that they, you know, Marvel will buy out theaters like that like don't have full viewings, especially like the opening weeks. Like they'll literally buy theaters out to boost their ticket sales, which just feels like fraud to me. But I guess it's still counts. You're purchasing those tickets. But yeah, it's just I
believe it.
I do too, because they're just desperate for approval.
Low. Of course, yeah. They want to show everyone that they still have staying power.
This isn't a theme park. This is real cinema, real film. Yeah. No,
you compare that. You compare something like, again, I'm not saying it's not entertaining, but you compare something like Infinity War or Endgame to Life is Beautiful or The Godfather, and it's like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, it's just not even close. And it's like, you know, it's and not bashing these movies, but
it's a different level.
It's a different level.
They're competing for different categories here, and that's fine. That's not just because one fits a better category than the other category doesn't mean that one is simply inherently better or worse. It just simply means that. Well, I would argue that Godfather is better than Endgame, and I think anyone who would argue against that is dumb.
You just have no real grounded opinion in
Or
film.
they've never seen The Godfather and they don't have the attention span.
Yeah, exactly. But this kind of reminds me of the quote that you sent from Francis Ford Coppola with his Megalopolis, and how he was saying that, this is, I might butcher this, but like box office isn't determinative of, a good movie. And that's all it seems to be. It's just like, the art now gets a score, to determine if it's good or not. Where it's, Megalopolis, I've never seen it. I know you saw it. You liked it. I've heard it's not a great film in terms of just objectivity of a movie.
Yeah.
But it's like his passion project. He's always wanted to make it. Yeah. Had a lot of good actors in it. It was a big film, expensive movie. And yeah, he wins like the Razzie for the worst director, but he's just like, thank you so much. Like, I appreciate it. I'm like nominated alongside this person. What an honor, but it's so true. We get into the weeds of like I think Rotten Tomatoes is probably the worst thing because it's so inaccurate, and it's, it's like, oh, this gets a 95%, like, Supergirl gets a 95%. Everyone's got to see it. It's like, it's just fake. It's so fake.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, listen, I liked Megalopolis just because I liked the story it had to tell. It was, again, was the writing great? Was it objectively a great movie? No, it was not. Yeah. But did I appreciate the story? Did I appreciate what it was as his passion project? Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that shows you something in terms of that. I think people get lost with the box office and the numbers and that type of stuff, rather than they look at the quantitative and not the qualitative aspect of things. And I think that we're much worse off for that. And I think Coppola's right about that.
Because it's becoming everything. It's like you want your opinions to be like, you want someone else to essentially tell you if it's good or not without you having to see it for yourself. Yeah. That's just for everything now. It's
or doing the work to determine if you think it's good or not.
Right. It's like everyone's opinions are vastly different on so many things, but for some reason for film, it's this weird thing where, yeah, it's like, and I'm guilty of it too. I'm not saying it's like I'm a pure of heart and, I don't listen to these.
I am.
Well, but like, it's just weird. I kind of hate that everything's being co-opted by, like ratings and, getting like a letter grade. And if it's worth your time, it's like, just go see it. Like, people put in so much time, even if it's a bad film, the amount of people involved, the amount of like headaches and like processing and production, it's like, it's unbelievable. And just for it to be written off as like, oh, it's nominated for the Razzies as the worst director, worst, screenplay, worst movie. It's like, screw you. Yeah. This guy made The Godfather. Like, what are we talking? Apocalypse Now. Yeah. What are we talking about? This is the best living director, one of the best living directors. Yeah. So it's just insulting for the sake of being insulting. I don't know.
I agree.
Don't appreciate it.
I think that's true.
But yeah. So other than that, just listen to yourself. Listen to your heart. If you want to see a movie, see that movie. If you don't want to see that movie, you better have a good reason as to why not to see it. And
Amen, brother. Preach, brother.
Oh my God. But other than that, appreciate you guys joining us as always.
Yep.
Any last remarks?
Like and subscribe.
Episode 10.
Woo! Get.